There is a kind of tired that sleep cannot fix. You know the one. You wake up after 8, maybe 9 hours of rest, and before your feet even touch the floor, you already feel like you have been carrying something heavy for a very long time. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, and you think, I didn't do anything yesterday. I barely moved. I had nowhere to be. So why does my body feel like it ran a marathon it never signed up for? Why does my mind feel like it has been open for days without ever being closed? This is not laziness. This is not weakness. And it is certainly not something you can fix by simply going to bed earlier. What you are experiencing has a name, a cause, and a deeply human explanation, and understanding it might be one of the most important things you do for yourself. The kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones even on the days you do nothing is called mental and emotional fatigue. And unlike physical tiredness, which is repaired by rest, this kind of fatigue is fueled by something that doesn't stop just because your body does. It is fueled by your thoughts. By your nervous system. By years of emotional experiences that your mind and body are still quietly processing, even when you think you are doing absolutely nothing at all. Here is something most people don't realize. The human brain consumes more energy than any other organ in the body. And when you are living with chronic stress, unresolved anxiety, suppressed emotions, or a nervous system that has spent years in a state of high alert, your brain is working at full capacity, around the clock, whether you are aware of it or not. So while you are lying on the couch watching television, your mind might be running 1,000 quiet calculations. Is everything okay? Did I say the wrong thing? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? What does that look like for me? What do people think? What am I missing? It never fully stops. And that constant background noise of mental activity is extraordinarily draining. Psychologists refer to something called cognitive load, the total amount of mental effort being used at any one time. For people who struggle with anxiety, overthinking, or emotional hypervigilance, the cognitive load is almost always elevated. It is like having 40 browser tabs open on a computer that is already running slow. The screen looks quiet. Nothing obvious is happening. But behind the scenes, the processor is working at full capacity, and eventually, everything starts to lag. That lag, in human terms, is the tiredness you feel. That lag is you, lying on the couch, doing nothing, and still feeling completely depleted. But there is something even deeper here that is worth exploring. Because for many people, this kind of exhaustion is not just about an overactive mind. It is about the emotional weight they have been carrying for years without ever setting it down. Think about what it takes to suppress an emotion. Think about what your body goes through when something hurts you, a rejection, a disappointment, a moment of loneliness, and instead of feeling it fully, you push it down. You tell yourself you are fine. You move on. You keep going. That act of suppression, which feels like nothing, which looks like nothing from the outside, requires an enormous amount of psychological energy. And when it happens repeatedly, over months and years, it creates a kind of emotional debt inside the body. A debt that collects interest. A debt that shows up as tiredness even on the quietest days. This is why many therapists speak about the body keeping the score. Because the emotions you didn't allow yourself to feel didn't disappear. They were stored. They live in the tension in your shoulders, in the tightness in your chest, in the way you hold your breath without realizing it. They live in your nervous system as unfinished business, and your body is always working to manage them. Even when you are resting. Even when you appear calm. Even when you tell yourself and everyone around you that you are absolutely fine. There is also the profound exhaustion that comes from living in a chronic state of emotional disconnection. Many people who feel this kind of emptied-out tiredness have spent so long prioritizing the needs, feelings, and comfort of others that they have quietly lost touch with their own inner world. They wake up and immediately begin scanning, what does the day need from me? What does this person need? What is expected? What will happen if I fall short? The self becomes secondary. The self becomes something that can wait. And over time, that waiting accumulates into a kind of grief. A grief for all the moments you were present for everyone but yourself. A grief that is heavy and shapeless and that most people cannot name, so they just call it tired. And then there is the exhaustion of performing wellness. Of pretending, in small and large ways, that you are managing better than you are. Of showing up to work, to conversations, to social obligations, wearing a version of yourself that feels stable and capable and unbothered, while internally you are running on fumes. That performance costs something. Every time you smile through something that hurt. Every time you say I'm fine and mean the exact opposite. Every time you normalize your own pain because you do not want to be a burden, or because you genuinely believe that what you feel is not serious enough to address, that costs you. And the bill comes due in the form of exhaustion that no amount of lying down seems to cure. So what do you do with all of this? Because understanding the cause is meaningful, but you also need somewhere to go from here. The first thing, perhaps the most important thing, is to stop demanding that rest fix everything, and start getting curious about what you are actually carrying. Because rest heals the body. But it is awareness, emotional honesty, and genuine self-compassion that heal the deeper exhaustion. Start noticing where you hold tension. Start paying attention to the emotions you routinely push aside. Start asking yourself, gently and without judgment, what you have been feeling that you haven't yet allowed yourself to fully feel. Therapy can be profoundly helpful here, not because something is broken in you, but because having a space where you are allowed to put down what you carry, even for an hour, begins to train your nervous system that it is safe to rest. Practices like journaling, mindful movement, breathwork, and somatic awareness can also help you reconnect with a body that has been working overtime for far too long. And please, extend yourself the compassion you would offer a friend. If someone you loved told you they were exhausted even when they hadn't done anything, you wouldn't tell them to push harder. You wouldn't question whether they were being dramatic. You would sit with them. You would take them seriously. You deserve that same tenderness from yourself. The tiredness you feel is real. It is not weakness. It is not failure. It is your mind and your body telling you, with everything they have, that something inside needs attention, needs gentleness, needs space. That is not a problem to be solved overnight. But it is absolutely something that can begin to shift one honest moment, one released breath, one small act of self-compassion at a time. You are not broken. You are carrying too much. And that is something you can begin, gently and bravely, to set down.